Welcome to the Green Screen. The Greenscreen.tv is brought to you by the Sea Solar Store, the GES Solar Store, the Green Energy Option Solar Store, and the Union of Concerned Scientists, EarthTech, Ridgeview Construction, and the Green Alliance. I'm your host, Bill Rogers, and for the next 13 weeks, we'll be looking at and for solutions that save. This week on the Green Screen, it's a couple of mission-centered organizations. Welcome back to the Green Screen, and here this morning with Dyanna Smith. Zach, thanks for coming in.
You bet. Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
So you have been a longtime educator working with environmental issues, is that right?
That's right. Yeah, I started as a professional geologist and worked my way into middle school and high school, and worked my way into university programs, and now we're trying to do something else. What kind of programs had you been teaching? Do you teach? Everything was Earth system science, environmental science, a lot of programs with field components. So kids could go and learn measuring, learn hands-on geology, learn environmental science, run a few simple experiments outside, that type of thing, and a lot of what they call now citizen science, collect your own data. So that type of environmental Earth system programs.
And what kind of stuff sort of motivates you as a thinker and person walking this earth? I mean, is that the kind of stuff that you bring to your students?
It is, and I think that now I was lucky the last almost 10 years where I brought it to a lot of other educators. So hopefully they brought it to their students too. But yes, no, that's I have whether it's compulsion now or not, but I measure my footprint all the time in the amount of energy I use, and I think very critically about doing things. So at some point it can get a little overwhelming, but I'm trying to be very aware and observe what's going on and how we are, and certainly I am, making an impact, and how I can make a difference and be and tone back a little bit in terms of my use and my products, and still have just a fantastic time, and maybe even a much better time, with the type of things we do.
So what does it do for you to look at your footprint, and what does that mean for you?
It means that there's the saying, and I don't know how long ago that started, maybe in the 70s sometime, about leave no trace, and that was marked at the time or developed for backpackers and hikers and stuff, that type of thing. But I guess for me that's become a bit of a mantra in terms of everything, where from the way that we've been brought up and all the things that are available to us, we think of, gosh, what could I leave for my children? What could I leave for someone else? What could I leave? A building with my name on it at a university. But the third world and the first world is littered with buildings and wings and libraries and seats with people's names on them, and many of them are not used. So, I start to think about, well, maybe if I left absolutely nothing, that would be a better leave than leaving something that either is not used, ill-used, or its impact, its cost was far greater than what the eventual use was. So to actually leave no footprint at all, from my life, as a legacy, I was thinking, well, that's really that would be quite a task to be able to do. To have given back the amount of energy that I've spent in that time. So, right.
We first met at a Clean Air event, and you were doing some work with them?
That's correct? Right. Yeah, no, Clean Air Cool Planet is a super group, and I've been associated with them, and I don't remember the first time, but I was asked to help them with their climate change backpack. And that's many years ago, so I presented a number of their backpack trainings.
So what is the climate backpack?
The climate change backpack, as far as I understand, is still available. It's available as a free download from the Clean Air Cool Planet site. It's a series of activities based on the most important concepts of climate change and how they can then be used in the classroom by teachers and students. having to do with, again, different aspects of climate change so that students can understand, fits into their curriculum and so forth.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that kind of launched this project is that you can see change more readily when it's right in your own backyard. We notice things. We've got more of a benchmark when it's in our own backyard, and also there's this notion that the global is local and the hyperlocal is global as well. And so those little changes that are occurring in our backyard really do have an effect on the larger global picture, and things that are happening far away can have a big effect on our backyard. I was thinking of that in regard to the traveling programs that you did. I think there was a program in South America, the Caribbean, right, and Montana. Is that something that was part of this? Is how these larger issues, these things that we can find from far away, spin around to other places?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the reasons that I continue to be involved is I realized when I was teaching in the classroom that I was lucky because I had a background in the subject matter, in the content, from being a geologist. And I was able to, I traveled around a little bit and seen a few things and so forth. But I know that that's not an opportunity that a lot of teachers get. And they're such a very important part of the whole educational system, especially for environmental change, that I wanted to, continue and help, education teachers as best I could. So certainly when I was lucky enough to participate in Antarctica a number of times with local groups here. And when I was there, they showed me any number of amazing things, and things that I knew, existed, because I've seen it in whatever, National Geographic and on the television or wherever. But you can find the bomb layers in Antarctic ice. You can't see it, the chemicals, but they're in there and you can see the layers. And those are bombs that were set up during the 50s, during nuclear testing and so forth, from all over the world. Wow. And that stuff ends up in the ice. But the same thing in terms of, all the other, and so I backtrack that to all the other components. What comes out of our tailpipe, it ends up there. It just doesn't, fall out of the sky and the sidewalk next to you and so forth. But that stuff, circulates around the planet, and it will end up. So absolutely, the local, becomes the global, and vice versa. So there is, the effect is called the butterfly effect. There's when a butterfly flaps its wings in, say, China or anywhere, it will make an effect, that will ripple throughout the earth. And I've seen that firsthand, so I've been lucky enough to do those kind of field exercises, so now we're trying to get the teachers to do the same thing, because teachers have to teach about, and maybe teachers really isn't the right word to use, because we use now educators and educators at large, because we've kind of defined that now as anyone with an audience and a need to know, which pretty much means everybody. If you have a cell phone and you're connecting with a friend or internet or talking in a cafe, you're talking to someone else and there's an education going on, you're transmitting information. So at the larger sense, we're all really educators. So for educators, though, to go and participate in, and we know about the rainforest and we hear about what's going on, but until you go and you see deforestation and you see lack of biodiversity taking place, and the pollution going in the air, the particulate matter from the burning fields and so forth, that's when, for me, that was transformation. That's when I really understood. And again, I knew it ahead of time. I had studied this type of stuff, but to go and actually experience it in person was a huge deal.
When you're just talking about transformation, you're talking about personal transformation or environmental transformation, or are the two related?
Yeah, certainly for me, it was personal transformation to go and actually, be reminded and actually see it and understand it directly. But certainly in terms of the environment too, it helped me get to another level. And now I say I'm at this point where I'm very critical of the amount of energy and the footprint that I leave around. Before I was, and it was important, and it was something that I really wanted to do, and leave for the next generation. But after really seeing and experiencing these different aspects of glacial change, melting to deforestation to coral reef bleaching, it just made such a huge impact on me. So we'd like to continue to pass that on and make that opportunity available for everyone.
And what's the next work that you're doing? What are you working on these days?
Well, we started a program called The Last Environment, which, you know, maybe at first glance sounds a little ominous, you know, but it's really, this is, you know, the last environment. This is all you have. Maybe sometime in the very, you know, long future, you know, there'll be other planets and places to go to, and we can, you know, change what we have, but this is it. And we have to deal with what we have, and when it's gone, it's gone. When it doesn't work properly, when it's polluted, that's the way it is. So the last environment. And so it turns out too, because we ran this, as you mentioned, this program in Glacier Park, Montana. And it's already now in the introduction for the rangers in Glacier National Park. This is not called Glacier National Park because it has glaciers. Because in 15 or 20 years from now, there will be no glaciers in Glacier National Park. But it's called Glacier National Park because it was glaciarized. But that's typical for a lot of places on the planet, you know, the same type of thing. So in terms of that, it's the last environment. And so, you know, for tourists, oh no, there's no glaciers that we can't see in person. But it changes the entire alpine ecology. You know, all of the critters there, from grizzly bears to, you know, tent caterpillars and so forth, are all going to be completely affected, you know, by those changes. All the agriculture that takes place in the refilling of the aquifer from the melting glaciers, that's all going to change. So in terms of that, and then we started looking further and further, bleaching coral reefs. That's it. When they're done, they don't come back next year, or, you know, it may be 50 years or 100 years. I think the statistics I read is that in the last 100 years, we're 50% down in the amount of coral reefs that we had 100 years ago. So we only have 50% left worldwide. So again, the last environment, it's gone, it's done, it's extinct. A lot of flora and fauna have also become extinct. So there are a lot of places that are the last one of its kind, and you got to go see it. Kilimanjaro, that glacier is gone, I guess, in 2 years. So go there now or see it in the pictures, and that's it.
What keeps you going these days? I mean, if we think of losing glaciers and knowing the importance, as you said, of those to the ecosystem that they're in, what generates your? I get a lot of enthusiasm from you. Where do you get that enthusiasm?
For me, I guess the traveling and seeing, you know, in person is a big thing, and I think for a lot of people that is too. And I get very excited. I still have some teaching that I'm doing now for grade school for the most part, junior college and so forth. But I get very excited just seeing the excitement in people's eyes, just hearing about it. And then to find out that they have the opportunity to actually go and either participate on our trips or go see these things, or these are things that you should go to see because they won't exist, but, you know, there are ways for you to, you know, mitigate, you know, these changes into the future. People get really excited about that, and so that turns me on. You know, the fact that people are interested in that.
Well, I'm going to take that that notion of the backpack with me, you know, and that we take the things. I love the idea that we sort of we have the things that we need with us, and we take those with us, take our experience with us, and that's the promise for the future. Taking the things we need. And hopefully a little responsibility for where we might be going. So how does your new program work? How do people get in touch with you?
Well, we certainly have a website. We're on Facebook too, thelastenvironment.com, and we are a .com. We're a business, but we're a business for benefits. The people that are going to, you know, benefit from this are certainly all of the groups we work with. We have about 7 or 8 locations around the globe, from Iceland to Patagonia, South America, Virgin Islands, United States, and so forth. And they're not just, they are very compelling environmental problems in their own right, and that's why we chose those places. We have a group in Thailand that does permaculture and Buddhism and permaculture, and it's a very important part of the culture there, and so that's why we chose to work with them. But also in all of our locations, there's already somebody there in place in country who is working on that problem, some small nonprofit. And so what we do is we're really here to support their work, to take an audience, a large global audience, a diverse audience of educators again at large, to take them, and if they're interested again in permaculture, to go to and introduce them to this group and work with this group, you know, for 10 days or so. Or if they're interested in, you know, snorkeling, you know, and coral reefs and coral fishes and so forth, then we go there. But I think what helps set us apart too from a lot of the other programs, certainly there are a lot of travel type programs, and we're You know, the terminology changes so fast now and all these between ecotourism and everything else, but we're a naturalist group, an educator group. But what sets us apart is that my partner and I, Karen Jakubowski, we run all our trips. So when we go to the Virgin Islands, we talk about being in Iceland and the natural resources that they have. And we talk about permaculture in Thailand while we're in the Virgin Islands. And we can make those connections, you know, with sea level change and how, you know, the water cycle is changing and so forth. And from my experience in the near Arctic and the Antarctic and South America and the rainforest, when we're in the rainforest, we can talk about the Virgin Islands. And so, again, there are lots of travel type programs, you know, for people to participate on. And if you're very interested in the rainforest, you go there and you can look at frogs and you can look at biodiversity and birds and so forth. But for us, it's very important and important to pass on to people too that when we're in any of those locations, you're connected to every one of those other things that's going on and to your home and what you do. You know, as you conduct your lives, it directly then affects the rainforest and sea level change and coral bleaching. Maybe not directly with coral bleaching, but temperature change with environmental change and so forth. So I think that's what helps set us apart is that though we have, again, a number of different locations around the world and they have their own themes, they're all connected and we can work with all of those different parts and work with people on answering questions. And then the solutions too, once now you've seen deforestation, what can I do at home once I get home? So we have that solution component that fits in there nicely too, I think.
Okay, well, thanks for coming in, Zach.
All right, thank you.
This store is like the old-time hardware store.
Come check it out.
When I was a kid, my dad took me through this great place where you could find just about any little gadget to do just about anything. These glass tubes are called heat pipes. Sun comes out, starts making steam, things get hot, showers get warm. What we're doing is we're bringing solar to Main Street.
So are we on Main Street here?
Well, this isn't exactly Main Street. We're on Route 108 north of the Weeks Crossing. In Dover, it's a great place where you can come and learn about how you can save energy by using the sun.
Our green card, our membership in the Green Alliance. It allows us to buy green, buy local, and save lots of money.
My mom likes the discount and I like the cake.
Now it's time for Ask the Scientist, brought to you by the Union of Concerned Scientists.
Well, you know, there are many things we can do and many things that we're already beginning to do across our nation, across our communities. Seabrook, New Hampshire, for example, is just beginning to think about how to address the problem of sea level rise. A low-lying coastal community, much like the city of Boston and cities and towns up and down the New England coast, are facing what scientists project to be on the order of 3 feet or so of sea level rise, conservatively estimated over the course of this century. That's a lot of sea level rise, especially if you're a low-lying coastal community. So Seabrook and others are beginning to plan for how to cope with rising seas, with increased flooding. That's a combination of sea level rise and increased intensified nor'easters and other precipitation. I'm really buoyed by the number of communities and towns from Seattle to my hometown of Belmont, Massachusetts, that have formed together across the nation to form a coalition of communities that are looking for ways to adapt, to prepare for the changes that are now locked in that we can't avoid, and also to think in smart ways about how to reduce their emissions by avoiding idling, for example, of cars and buses, by thinking about more energy efficient strategies for municipal buildings, and beginning to monitor that and own the problem so that it becomes an opportunity not only to reduce emissions but to save money.
Welcome back to the green screen, and here with Dyanna Smith. Thanks for coming in, Dyanna. Dyanna with Red Eft. What is Red Eft?
Red Eft Project is a new nonprofit organization, and we're headquartered here in Portsmouth. And we're kind of different in that we're all about starting other people's projects, helping other people get their environmental projects going, and being a support system for you know, everybody, right? Citizens and smaller groups. You know, we're just interested in helping move forward as much environmental work as we can.
Now, I met Jerry Monkman, who had a film opening at your film festival,
Yes.
which he was excited about. Beautiful film. Beautiful
Yes,
short
really
film.
nice. Yes.
And you presented that at the Whaleback Environmental Film Festival here in downtown Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
That's right. We just did this this past weekend, and he launched the weekend with his film, The Anderson Farm, and then he did a little Q&A, and people got to ask him some good questions, and it was a great start to the weekend.
So why a film festival? There are lots of film festivals around. Why Whaleback Film Festival?
Well, I've kind of always had this idea about doing an environmental film festival, and I think Portsmouth is the perfect spot for it, and so I just kind of went for it, and it worked.
Mm-hmm. Did you? So yeah, I mean, you had an audience.
Yes, yes, we had a really nice turnout, and people were very excited about it, and we had a lot of good conversation through the weekend.
So, you know, it's a rhetorical question because I make media and I think I see some value in presenting media. But I'm going to ask you, why present to, you know, you bring a bunch of people into a dark room and show them these films. What inspired you to do that? What's the value in it?
I think what I see in it is, you know, I'm very media focused, and I like to watch movies, and in thinking about our environmental issues and how we can really start talking about them in you know, a way that makes change, I just thought film is sort of, to me, seems like the obvious arena for that kind of a conversation, to start that kind of conversation.
And did you feel like you engaged some conversations at the film festival?
Yes, we did, especially on Sunday. We showed a film Sunday that dealt with climate change issues, and not specifically the issues, but more about how we feel about climate change and the knowledge about climate change and what that does to you.
What was it called?
It was called Beyond Denial, and it was a short film from a keen filmmaker, Jessica Zane. And she was there also to kind of lead a discussion afterwards. And that was our sort of our meatiest discussion about environmental concerns and what we could do as a community. And it just felt really good to just have that conversation.
Well, let's take a look at a clip.
The Earth is gonna end just like the Day After Tomorrow movie. It's gonna suck.
There's tornadoes, and then there's you know, there's big freezes, and then there's big heat waves.
Some report just came out that said that predictions are even worse.
They say that if the entire ice cap were to melt, that all the sea levels would raise 18 feet.
The retreating of glaciers in the Himalayas is affecting monsoons in India.
It used to snow so much, and now just see the climate is getting warmer and warmer.
There was like a foot of snow in downtown Seattle, which is really rare.
And what was the takeaway that you took from that conversation?
For me, the takeaway was that it was a bit of a test to see if the whaleback environment could support that kind of a discussion. And my takeaway was that it's ready for a lot more. So I think next year we're going to build Sunday into a day with a lot more of that kind of discussion.
Yeah, it seems to me people are really hungry for it. Solutions-based, you know, what are people doing about this big issue? Right.
What can we do? And you know, beyond recycling, what can we do? And I think a lot of that is going to come from us coming together and having these conversations and deciding what we can do as a group.
So tell me about the Red Eft. We were talking about it as a newt, as a salamander.
Yeah, the Red Eft is. It's a newt, an eastern newt, which is the green little aquatic salamander that swims around in vernal pools. And for reasons that we still don't understand, they enter what I think of as this kind of rebellious stage in their life cycle, and they come out of the pond and they turn bright orange and they become terrestrial and they wander around the forest. And they're really everywhere around our forests, but unless you know to look for them, you wouldn't really notice them. And I really liked the Eft as a a symbol for what we're trying to do and getting new projects started and helping, you know, get the Efts out of the pond and into new places.
Okay, so yeah, I'd further unpack that. So the Eft is it amphibious, or does it have this? Does it have one life and then go to another life?
Well, it does. It sort of does have two lives. It's the same animal, but it, you know, it comes. It lives in the water in the beginning stages and normally in the end stages as well. So this is a temporary phase that it goes through, and sometimes I think the closest thing we think is going on is it's out. It's a defense mechanism, so it can go out and find a new source of aquatic habitat with the. So that if the pond dries up, you know, they can survive. Mm-hmm. But it's like a scouting mission, and they don't all do it either, which I think is very interesting, and another reason why I like it for a symbol.
You have other folks involved with Red Eft in different parts of the country. Looks like San Francisco, Brooklyn are a couple of places that I've seen from your website.
Yeah, we do. The board of directors are all people that are in a PhD program with me at Antioch, New England. And so really we're based wherever all of us are based, and I'm here in Portsmouth, and then we have someone in the Bronx and someone out in Ohio and out in Jackson, Wyoming, and up in Lancaster, New Hampshire.
Now you said there's a project being initiated up in Lancaster?
There is. That's our next. Now that we have Whaleback under control, we're starting a project up in Lancaster that's a community garden, which we're really excited about. And one of our board members lives up there, and that's her community. And so they just found a site for the garden, and they're starting to get some folks together to garden it and open it up for family plots, but also to grow food for the local food pantry.
Great.
So we're real excited about that project.
Well, next year comes around. We'll what do you hope for the Whaleback Film Festival?
Well, if everything, I love saying if everything goes according to plan, but hopefully we'll be screening a film ourselves next year, which will be about this community garden, and it's a project that I'm organizing up there, and we're talking to a lot of the folks that are going to get involved in the garden and having them do their own video, and I'm going to sort of, you know, put it all together, and we'll screen it next year.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
There's such energy in farming, in gardening, in so many of these projects. They're so tangible.
Yes.
Putting your hands in the dirt.
Yes. What a better way to connect with, you know, the earth, and it's a nice step. Just even going outside and having a reason to go outside. That seems more and more important, to have a good reason to go outside.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thanks for coming in.
My pleasure.
And we'll be in touch. Keep us informed of what's happening with the Red Eft.
I will. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Dyanna.
So that'll do us for this week on The Green Screen. Join us next week for more solutions.